if you guys didn't know, last year we had our first ever Bless God Summit. We are about to announce the lineup for the new Bless God Summit happening 2026. We have the date, and I'd love for you guys to sign up for that. I think you guys will really enjoy it. But Helioentris said, created a video for his experience at the Bless God Summit. I'm an atheist. I went to Ruslan KD's evangelical conference. But yeah, Bless God Summit is happening March 5th through 7th, 2026. We're about to announce the lineup, and you can sign up for the waiting list to be the first to get access to the lineup and early discount tickets.
Bless God, motherfucker!
That's right,
I actually did not catch the opening of this.
ladies and gentlemen.
That's
the
crazy.
Bless God Summit of 2025.
Pause it. Can we make that a drop?
We can't make that a drop. We can't. That's too out of pocket.
Yo.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. The Bless God Summit of 2025, the most anticipated event in Christian history, second only to the second coming of Christ. There has never been a greater ecumenical gathering of
He's so
like-minded
ridiculous.
He is.
believers since the Council of Nicaea. Boys and girls, this conference had everyone. It had Ruslan, it had Lecrae. Okay, it didn't have Lecrae. It had God Logic, David Wood, Alex O'Connor, Bill Clinton, Van and Mike Jones from Inspiring Philosophy, and other people. I ran out of fingers. The Christian Avengers had assembled, and the power of the Christian unity made laser shoot out of them.
This dude is wild.
And I was there. I went and saw and conquered. Except I didn't, because of course I didn't. My name is Jared. I'm an atheist, and this is Atheist Church Audio, which is a misnomer because
I appreciate that he takes out all the cuss words.
I know, right? That's really sweet.
That's really sweet,
He knows
Jared.
his audience.
You're awesome. If I buy a ticket now and end up not able to get there in person, can I pay it forward to someone else? You sure can, Simper. You sure can, but the tickets are on sale now. They're going to be on sale soon, so blessgodsummit.com. Go ahead.
I didn't go to a church. I went to a. They would be quick to point out that they are the church, the gathering of Christians at the Bless God Summit. So close enough. Bless God Summit of 2025 was an event that Ruslan, the big evangelical YouTuber, coordinated and put on. And
I don't know if I've ever been called a big evangelical YouTuber.
I like it. Do you like it?
I don't know.
Kind of feels like you're part of Liberty University.
That term evangelical is a loaded term.
It really is.
When Gavin Ortland sits down and explains to Redeemed Zoomer what evangelical means, I go, yeah. But when like the Ortho Bros just throw it out,
They go like evangelical sandal wearing rock church.
all right, don't do that.
Or when the craze like I left Christianity because the white evangelicals.
White evangelicals.
You're like, oh man,
don't do that. no, I don't want to be lumped in with that. All right, go ahead.
funded and all that. All right, now full disclaimer. Ruslan paid for my lodging and my ticket out here. However, I did pay for my plane ticket and the copious amounts of cocaine that I did there in the hotel room.
How sad would it be if he was really like on drugs?
I don't think he was.
That's a bad.
I don't. Think
I
he was.
did. We did make sure his room was covered, and he did. He got a comp ticket, which we had a ton of folks that couldn't afford a ticket. They got tickets. I think close to how many emails? You sent out over 100 emails. The scholarship list.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we did comp his room. We had a bunch of room comps. And listen, here's the thing. Though he's an atheist, Jared's a good hang.
I was about to say that he's a good hang.
He's just a good hang.
Yeah, you wouldn't know it.
He's a good hang.
Mm-hmm.
There's a principle in there, somewhere in there about, just being a good hang and how it's just be a good hang sometimes.
Be a good hang.
So I'll ask this question from the get-go. Is there a dark, malicious, satanic underbelly to this entire event? No, not really. So in talking to Ruslan about this thing before and after, he said multiple times that his goal and intention was to just make the Christian conference that he always wanted to go to. And as a young evangelical, I went to a dozen of these things, and this was by far the best one that I've ever been to.
He threw up. Well, first of all, he threw up Winter Jam. Second of all, he said this is the best event he's ever been to after throwing up a Winter Jam.
Evangelical. I went to a dozen of these things.
In it with the fart sound.
Oh man.
Winter Jam 2013.
Oh no.
and then what an endorsement is this? Wait, is this working for us or against us?
Yeah, that's a good question.
The atheist says.
Yeah, the atheist says it's the best Christian conference I've been to.
And this was by far the best one that I've ever been to. Not surprisingly, a lot of people online were either complaining or ridiculing this thing and calling it a cash grab. And I think the rationale behind that was because Ruslan was pushing this thing really hard.
I'm sure by this point, you've heard about the Bless God Summit happening March 27th, 28th, 29th. Bless God Summit, March 27th, 28th, 29th. Bless God Summit. Bless God Summit.
But you go there and you stay in what for me feels like a 5-star resort.
Come on.
then that feels silly. Something like this is obviously going to cost money, and it's, you know, part conference to edify your soul, but it is also very much a vacation.
Heard it here first. He actually goes on to reveal some more details that I don't even know if you've ever revealed publicly.
I've revealed.
Okay.
I don't know if I revealed publicly, but yeah, I think, we want to have the event we would like to be at.
Yeah.
And we want it to feel like something that's rejuvenating and edifying and community building.
Yeah. And you want people to be there, so you tell people about it.
So we tell people about it. We tell people about it. Because you know what happens when we don't tell people about it?
They get mad.
They get mad because we didn't tell them about it.
Dude.
I didn't know.
Why didn't you say that this was the last day of the Priest Provider Protector sale?
Oh, you didn't tell me the sale was over. So we tell people about stuff that we do to help people.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought that we do stuff to help people and we have to tell you guys that it's happening?
Yeah.
Because if we don't, then you complain that we didn't tell you enough that it was happening.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
And there is the very real pressure that you take on a huge risk and responsibility with something like this. And if you don't fill butts in the seat, you could wind up tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And
I literally had a Dropbox folder as it was getting closer, and we were like really worried about our attendance. A Dropbox folder called Operation Butts and Seats. Like using those exact same words, which is like, we cannot go under because of this event. We need to at least survive so we can all eat.
truthfully, in talking to Ruslan about this whole thing, he lost money doing this event. And he told me, you know, that he was using his own personal frequent flyer miles to fly in some of the guest speakers.
That is true. That is true. We use miles, Southwest miles and Delta miles and all my miles to get people here. So I depleted my miles and I used, I'd say majority, I used a big chunk of reserves that were built up from my amazing book, Godly Ambition, the advance for this paid for that. So please do me a favor, pre-order the book.
So we can get another advance so that we can do another summit.
No, seriously. MyGodlyAmbition.com. If you pre-order this joint, it's $24 on this is another one of those things I got to tell you about because it's good for you.
Yeah.
And it'll help you. MyGodlyAmbition.com, forward by Jonathan Pokluda, unlocking the potential of your time treasure on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, and then go to MyGodlyAmbition.com to get your offer where you can get the first couple chapters of the book along with a 20% discount code. We're trying to give you the first 3 chapters. Right now it's the first intro chapter and second chapter. So you can go here, pick this up. It really helps us out a ton when you do that because we can keep doing more events where we lose money on, even though people think that we're printing money over here by selling devotionals and prayer journals. Anyway, go ahead.
I don't think that alarms should be sufficiently sounded for something like this. The actual event itself was, what was it, 3 days, 4 days? It was several days of speakers, worship nights, the whole 9 yards.
I think we had one worship night.
That's really funny. We had live music. We had live music.
We did have live music.
Really cool.
Yep.
Absolutely stunning resort there in Carlsbad, California.
We did it at the Westin in Carlsbad. The next resort is, people are like, how are you going to level it up? Go to blessedgodsummit.com, sign up for the waiting list. We leveled up. The lineup is leveled up even more. So we're going to have some of our folks back. But the next resort is even crazier.
I love the VIP lounge that we have.
Yeah. It's going to cost me even more, but it's going to be an even better overall event.
Yeah.
I'm going to zoom out for a sec and talk about what made this thing good. What made it better than the catastrophe that it could have been? I think that there were a lot of things that kind of came together to make this a perfect storm of a good conference. I think Ruslan said that this was between like 300 and 400 people. And
we had about 400 people in the room.
Yeah.
Scale, it's like you're not a number, you're not a statistic, you're a person, and you actually get to meet and mingle with the other people who are there, including the speakers. So like, rather than getting lost in a sea of people, I ended up having like several day or 2 long conversations with people that kind of continued, you know, throughout the entire time there. And it was really enjoyable. And one of the
biggest feedback we got that people loved was the accessibility to everyone else that was there.
Yeah.
And I actually think this serves the folks who are speaking, because there's nothing like feedback right away from your people, meaning that it's fun. Like there's levels, right? Like making an Instagram video versus making a YouTube video, versus being live on YouTube, but then like being live with people in person. There's various degrees of feedback, and the ability to get in-person feedback and know that like what you do helps people is massive, and it's really good. So I think people having access to speakers was actually also a blessing to the speakers, believe it or not.
Yeah, totally. And then real quick, someone said, because we said this one's going to be even better and even more amazing. Someone said, are the tickets going up a lot? They're trying to bring like 10 to 15 dudes to pull up.
No, they're not. They're not. I think the tickets are staying the same, if not going down slightly for the early bird.
Yep.
Unexpected elements of this was that there was at least a hint of diversity. I can't like say that it was like super diverse because like an
hold on, what?
This man's doing a DEI test on our Blessed God Summit.
We have. This is funny because arguably one of the more diverse events.
Yeah.
Right. There was women.
There was women speakers.
There was women speakers.
Yep.
There was men speakers. There was people of every ethnicity.
Yep.
From Hispanic to Black
to even Asian.
To Asian. Wait.
Ryan Pineda.
Ryan Pineda is Asian.
Is he Mexican or is he?
I don't know.
Is he? He'll be our Asian
racially,
guy for now.
He's racially ambiguous. So no, that's funny. That is Arthur was there. Arthur's like Armenian. I'm like, I'm like faux Armenian. He's like Armenian.
Yeah.
So
he's like brown Armenian.
Yeah, he's brown Armenian. So so that's funny, like a hint of diversity. I don't know. I guess diversity is like subjective,
Yeah.
So
theological conference like this is not where you're going to get a ton of spiritual diversity. If you want that, just go to like, I don't know, Costco.
Oh, he meant spiritual diversity.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
So this conference brought a lot of people who were passionate about their faith, most of whom were kind of run-of-the-mill evangelical, but it's nice that it was non-denominational. It wasn't just Baptists or just PCA people. There were high church people, there were low church people, there were Baptists, Anglicans, Methodists, some Catholics were there. Father Josiah, who's an Orthodox priest, made a brief appearance. You had Catholic YouTubers there, like Sips with Sarah and Voice of Reason. And hell, even Jacob Hansen, the popular...
Doesn't count, but he's kind of in the Alex O'Connor lane.
Jacob?
Yeah. He's saying like he's naming denominations and then names a Mormon. And we're like, oh, that doesn't.
We're trying to get Jacob.
We also have non-Christians that show up.
We're trying to get Jacob and God Logic to run it back at the next Blessed God Summit.
Live. Okay,
live. Cool. A live debate with God Logic and Jacob on the Trinity. That's what we're in the works for. So, we'll see if we can make that happen. But yeah, we had Catholics. We try to have Eastern Orthodox there. Father Josiah did show up, which, by the way, Father Josiah is about to be on the channel. So I really did make it an effort to get folks from all streams. And even within the pot, like we had folks that were more, reform leaning. Mm-hmm. Like Alan Parr went to Dallas Theological Seminary. And then we had folks that were very, also like Gavin Ortland, very reform leaning, right? And then we had folks that were very charismatic. Ryan Pineda is very charismatic. Ryan Horton, very charismatic. My pastor, charismatic. Mm-hmm. We had Catholics, multiple Catholics on stage. So yeah, we tried to do our very best to make it as theologically diverse while focusing in on the essentials of worldview, virtue, and impact.
Come on.
Yeah, I like it.
Mormon Apologist. He came and made the rounds and did like an impromptu discussion with God Logic. Huge kudos for doing that.
That was fire. That was a really good discussion. It was informal. I want to do something formal with them. So we'll see if we can make it happen. God Logic, I think, is coming back.
Yeah.
March of 2026.
Cool. I think there was just enough like ecumenical and, cross-denominational diversity that made the discussions feel actually productive. And the fact that, you were there for a conference over the course of several days rather than just like hey, let's have a reasonable discussion. It felt much more, real. And I'm glad that I had the discussions there that I did because I had a lot of really genuine, really wonderful conversations with people. And then of course, Alex O'Connor and I were there as the token atheists. Truthfully, I think part of the reason why Ruslan decided to bring me out to this whole thing was to keep Alex O'Connor at least a little bit of company so he didn't feel like the only atheist on the premise there.
Good planning.
Caught red-handed.
You actually, I think you have regular memory. Be like, it'd be great to have Jared there, and I'd also think it'd be good to keep Alex company. That's funny. That's really funny.
Who else better to have there with Alex O'Connor than Jeffrey Litsenchik? And maybe I'm too idealistic in this sense, but I'm also thinking like they would hit it off.
Yeah.
And how fire would it be to see a collaboration between Helioentris and Alex O'Connor?
That'd be sick.
Is that now someone would pick that apart and be like, but Ruslan, you're a Christian.
You're promoting the non-kingdom.
And you're promoting non-kingdom and you want non-kingdom people to collaborate. And I guess as
of late, Alex O'Connor and Helioentris have been doing some heavy lifting for the kingdom.
They've been doing some good apologetics work for the kingdom.
This man's touring churches. Alex O'Connor's getting professions of faith kind of out of people.
Yeah. So, you know,
That's
I
great.
don't know.
I think I literally was the only atheist in the room except for this one other guy who was there too. He's got a YouTube channel, Helioentris, I think his name is, or something like that.
We were a couple of wolves in the lamb's pen, and as a tag team to take out as many of the sheep as possible, and just rip their souls shred by shred. That was definitely one of the highlights of the entire event. Was the last night there, Alex O'Connor debated David Wood on did Jesus claim to be God, and I thought they both did an exceptional job. I even got to ask a question, which made me feel very special.
Dr. Wood, regarding the I am statements of Jesus in the Gospel of John, the most palpable, powerful,
Wood's
divine statements by
answer to this was hilarious, by the way.
And I think it's funny he kept it in too.
Christ. Why do you believe that they are omitted from Mark, from Q, from Matthew, and Luke, our 4 earliest Gospels, and then John comes along, and these statements are present in John and missing from all of our other sources?
Did I bring up I am statements? No. Who brought them up? That's interesting. It is fascinating if you walk in and you say, all right, I'm going to quote all these passages in John. They go, it's too late. It's the latest source. You can't trust that. It's clearly made up later and so on. And so you say, okay, let me just go with the earliest material, go Q, Mark, and Paul. And then it's, what about John? That's very interesting. So I can't quote John, but they can quote John. These are awesome times.
Yeah, it was actually super cool. A couple days before was Alex's birthday, and I got to sit at the table with him and David Wood and John McCrae while they kind of planned debate prep. And that was really neat. It was cool getting to see how the sausage is made. As an aside, man, dude, Alex O'Connor is such a trooper. Like his ability to rally with the crowd and like roll with the punches.
There was a roller coaster just outside of my room, and being a bit jet lagged, I woke up quite late to the most peaceful of noises, that is the sound of children screaming for their lives. Hearing the sound of innocent children screaming for their lives, of course, reminded me to read the Old Testament and
stay late after.
That was a great joke.
It was a great joke. And I was laughing pretty
great.
hard.
Shout out to Alex O'Connor.
Yeah.
Fun hang as well, by the way.
Yeah, imagine that joke. There's 400 Christians in there, and they all go, oh, and like some laughter, and like, it was funny.
Take pictures with everyone. He absolutely deserves every modicum of success he has gotten so far. So overall, the conference was a huge success. I can't like co-sign it, obviously, because I wasn't there for every single session. And actually, TBH, I probably wasn't there for most of the sessions. Most of the time I was hanging out in the green room talking to my colleagues. That feels weird. I don't know, other YouTubers who are like 10 times bigger than I am. And so my perception of this whole thing is definitely kind of warped because I got to see the, real life flesh and blood version of the speakers who were speaking on stage, and I didn't have to like cognitively battle with them regarding points of doctrine or philosophy that we disagree on, but just hanging out with the attendees. And
that was just a fun place to be at. Like, I know we're not going back, and we have another venue that's even nicer and even cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But like, look at how vibey this was.
Yeah, this is dope.
A lot of people had cool conversations out by the fire pits with these couches out there.
And with the speakers was really, really pleasurable. Pleasurable? What a weird word. Ugh. So, you might be asking, dear viewer, what was it like being one of the only atheists there at this event? And boy, howdy, what a treat. Let me tell you, it is so fun for me to do shit like this. I don't know, man. The whole event felt like really magical in a way, because I remember going to events like this, and when you're, 17, 18, 20, and you make a big deal out of saving up all this money to go to this big event, and it's halfway across the country, those are memories that you take with you for a lifetime, especially if you do it with some bros. There was a group of like 3 or 4 dudes who I think drove like 20 hours to be there.
Hey, Ben's in the chat
Shout
right
out
now.
Ben.
Shout out the homie.
You got that heliocentric shout out.
You got the heliocentric shout out. Ben drove down from daggone Seattle, right? Seattle area.
For that 5-hour podcast we did.
Yeah, we did a live
so
podcast.
I'm glad he was able to make
2023.
it to the full 3.5 day situation.
Yeah, so shout out to Ben.
And like, man, I don't know, that's just wholesome. And dude, I'm just gonna be so for real. It was just fun being a little hellion there.
Food can be
Flipping all this.
What the hell? I need to say this from the get-go. There is probably a ton of stuff here that I would not co-sign. There are political beliefs and philosophical discussions and all kinds of hootenanny that I absolutely do not align with or believe in. But
outside of Alila, I don't know if you would even categorize anything we said from the actual thing as political.
Yeah, I would say it was pretty it was just Christ-centered. It was more gospel-oriented.
Yeah, like Lila, we obviously promoted her live action.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we were like super duper
even there's no sponsor there that was even political.
Well, I mean, if you're
pro-choice,
then
you're
Human
like, wow,
Coalition
this is
and Live
super-
Action is going to come off very, I guess, political.
but they're not like wearing red Trump hats.
Yeah, we didn't
You know
have
what I'm
like
saying? It's
MAGA vibes.
Yeah, they're just there to be like, hey, let's not, off babies.
Yeah, which
That's just
I understand it from Jared's perspective that would be political, but if we're talking like Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, Faith Conference, which they're always trying to get me to come out to, no diss to them. This was not political in my opinion, but maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry to say that I kind of skirted past most of that because truthfully, I didn't spend a whole lot of time actually in the sessions. So I know that my atheist homies are not going to be thrilled about me like saying nice things about this event, but hear me out. I feel like I was doing a public service on behalf of atheists everywhere. And that is by helping Christians be less obnoxious towards atheists. That's kind of
Hey, that too was by design.
Yeah.
Some of you guys need some home training.
yeah. Here's the training wheels. We're
gonna create a safe place.
You're in the hallway of the Blessed God Summit
for you to be around people who don't believe what you believe.
Yeah.
Don't act like a complete idiot.
You're not gonna get roasted. Someone can chime in behind you and be like, "Hey, what he actually means is."
So that was also by design. Yes.
Yeah.
What I see my role as, in part. Sometimes I feel like if I'm the first atheist that a newly converted evangelical has a conversation with, I'm happy to just be the training ground for their little dumpster fire of a spiel. Oh, baby's first time talking to a non-believer. Oh, you gonna whip out the Kalam cosmological argument? Oh, you read a book by Frank Turek. So wait a minute,
He said, "You read a book by Frank Turek."
Oh, that was great.
You don't even believe in like an afterlife. Then it's just so fun seeing the reactions to a large group of Christians when they find out you're an atheist. Like on the high end, I had some really genuine conversations with people that almost brought me to tears. On the low end, I had somebody run up to me and be like, "I'm praying for you," and then just like run away. Oh, I also had somebody who was like, "If I gave you a book, would you read it?" And I was like, "No." And then the next day,
they brought him a book.
He's like, "Here," and hands me a book and runs away. No, I would say that the vast majority.
That's so funny.
Oh man. This is good though. This is great training for Christians.
Yeah. Also, that person was persistent.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not taking no for an answer.
I'm just giving it to you even though you're not going to read it. Yeah.
Majority of conversations that I had with believers there were really wonderful and really genuine. And even the ones that weren't, I'm happy for those. I'm happy to, get people to calm down. I'm really grateful for some of the conversations that I had there. And it's weird to say, but like I made friends there that I hope I will keep for a very long time.
Wow. Isn't that the heart?
Yeah.
There's one YouTuber whose name I'm blanking on at the moment. And it was him and his wife. And we talked for like an hour.
I think it was Ears to Hear.
Ears to Hear. That's the homie. Shout out to Ears to Hear.
His wife was there.
They're
they
great.
were hanging out, talking.
His channel's amazing.
It's awesome.
Shout out to Ears to Hear. His channel's really good.
Story. And, there wasn't a sales pitch at the end of that. They were just really sweet and really good listeners, and that meant the world to me. So even though I didn't stay for very much of the panels, I will say that one of the highlights for me was a talk that Gavin Ortland gave, and he had a whole lecture on having conversations with people you disagree with, and it was really good, and everything that he was saying, I was in the back shouting yes and amen to. It was wildly encouraging, and I was really happy to be there for it. And man, truthfully, maybe the big highlight of this whole thing was just seeing a lot of these YouTubers in person, flesh and blood.
So that's an amazing video. He did say he disagreed with this tone around the summit that like Christianity was right and Christianity had ushered in all this good stuff and Christianity was the superior worldview. And to that, I say, it is.
Yeah.
Jared, it is.
Well, he had this pushback that like,
he wants us to share more of how the church has transformed us.
Yeah, well, yeah. The pushback was that like, it's encouraging people to become Christian, so that we have like social political movement,
or that's like a byproduct.
Yeah, But from our worldview, we're just like, it's just a byproduct of following Jesus.
Byproduct of following Jesus is transformed lives. Transformed lives make society and make the world better.
Yeah, we're saying that doesn't even happen without loving, following Jesus intently and passionately and authentically.
So to his defense, he said he didn't hear a lot of the sessions. I don't know if any of the sessions actually did that. I think maybe it was the vibe, because this is like it's like Michael Jones vibe, fan, inspiring philosophy. Like they're really on like Christianity is better, and it is like it is. Like I'm unapologetic about it. It is, what we are trying to do is help people get their worldview in order so they can get their virtues in order so they can go on to impact the world for the good, to usher in goodness, beauty, those sorts of things on this side of eternity. So we are absolutely into doing that because I get very irritated with Christians that are so heavenly minded, they're of no earthly good.
Come on.
If there's anything I'm willing to catch the most amount of backlash for, is that I am okay with believing that you are called to more than just getting your hell insurance and waiting for Jesus to come back. That I believe that you should be making a positive impact in your home, first and foremost, in your community, in your city, in your county, in your state. And that is a holistic outward process. And that, by the way, includes things like your finances.
Come on.
Your fitness, your family. Like it's a holistic thing. So I'm unapologetic in saying like, yeah, man, like God cares about your finances. God cares about your fitness. God cares about your family. God cares about these things. And so many people don't. And if there's anything that I'm going to get like backlash for, it's going to be like, oh, Ruslan talks about money. Ruslan talks about this. It's like, yes. Yes. I will take all of that on the chin. Pause. If it can inspire people to say God, Zach's if he can inspire people to say God has things that he wants to consecrate you in with regards to those areas, you know?
That's fact.
And so, yeah, we're going to keep talking about this. We're going to keep leaning into this. I'm going to keep telling you guys, like, get the book, Godly Ambition. Why? Because there's so many Christians that are just consumed with the afterlife and don't care about this life when Jesus says, thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
Yeah.
And if that means, oh, I'm going to get dragged for charging for a devotional, charging for a conference, charging for a book, I'm cool with it. I'll take all those on the chin. Why? Because I know that we're actually moving the needle out here. I know that people are actually being impacted, and it's not just, oh, I got more head knowledge and learned more facts about stuff.
Yeah.
And I got better arguments on how to talk about Jesus, which I think is good. It's the whole worldview. But no. I got my head on straight, and then I actually cooperated with the Spirit of God and what it wants to do in practical areas of my life. And that established me to be a better husband, be a better father, be a better leader, be a better employer. And then I was able to go out and make impact and make disciples through whatever thing I'm called to in this season. Absolutely. I'll take that on the chin all day. If that means me being a straw man, me being misrepresented, me having hundreds of videos made about me without, by the way, people who ever reach out to me to talk to me.
Hello.
Right. I am so okay with all of that. I am so okay because ultimately it's actually not about me. It's about you being equipped to live a life that blesses God. And the top of funnel content and the stuff we talk about with pop culture, that's just that is just to get people in the door, to hopefully get them to go to an event, to get them to read a devotional, get them to read a book, get them to transform their lives by the power of God. And that's what it's about for me, getting people into churches. So all the other stuff, oh, you're charging for a conference. Oh, 6 years ago when you were giving Christians business advice, you said people should monetize their, I'll take all of those things on the chin because I think ultimately we're doing good work here and God is using it and people are being transformed. And I go to sleep really well at night. Just so you guys know. I go to sleep really well at night. I want you guys to know, Occupied Till I Come, 60-day devotional on sale. 35 days in the Old Testament, 25 days in the New Testament. This is where we actually transition into the New Testament, day 36. And what's cool about this is we have a reading that you go through. There's a verse here that kind of summarizes the reading, and then there is a additional chapter of reading with custom journal prompts at the end of each reading. So there's also a section for prayer requests. I always recommend you keep track of your prayers.